morning, everyone. Let's bow our heads for a word of prayer. Our Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We ask you to look over this board and give us the wisdom to make the best decisions we can for Union County. We ask you to watch over everyone and give us grace. These things we ask in your name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Lance, would you do the roll call, please?
Mr. Harville, Mr. Pitts,
Here.
Mr. Miller,
Here.
Mr. Bierstadt,
Here.
Mr. Gould.
Having a quorum, I'll call the meeting to order. This is a special call meeting to do the budget. So
What time is yours? Then we have to leave. You want to do yours first?
No, it's not good.
Okay. I'm probably gonna skip around based off who's here. So, the state's attorney said he would be a little late, so I'm gonna skip his. Daniel, I have you next. You good?
Yeah.
Are you in the middle of something?
No, it's just a calculation.
Okay. So we have, one request coming in from the Public Defender's Office, to increase the pay for the assistant, public defender. What would have been the current salary for the public defender in fiscal year 25, which is with the regular increase, was $69,452. They are asking for it to be increased. It was based off a percentage, that's why it's a weird amount. $73,458 would be what it would go to, which is a $4,000 increase over what the normal increase would be. And then that's $584 is what the increase to the benefits would be, just because of higher salary, so you got higher taxes, higher. So that's the total request. Just a little background, and then I'll let Daniel explain what he wants, but what we found is because of the way the economy is going right now, we're having trouble finding some people in these upper level positions. So same problem we were having with the assistant state's attorney, which is why it's being advertised for a higher salary now so that we can find someone. So basically Daniel is looking to raise Adam's salary so that we don't lose him.
That's very correct.
Anything else that I'm not?
No, so ultimately the reason that I am asking for that, I believe, I know Judge Denny's been a little bit involved as well. He assisted me in getting some numbers for other Jackson County, Williamson County. I'm a firm believer, let's not set ourselves at their bar. A lot of areas, but even in some of the smaller counties such as our own, somebody with Adam's experience, and honestly his skill level, because Adam, I think I said this 2 years ago when I asked for 6% instead of I think a 3.5. Adam's skill level is very high for as many years as he's been an attorney. To lose him would, I think, be very detrimental to not just my office but the county. I think we see, and I'm not throwing anybody under the bus, but I think we're all concerned a little bit about the issues that the state attorney's office might have when Jeremy leaves, the inefficiency that could happen, because ultimately our state's attorney's one man. To cover court 5 days a week, it's going to take away from so much other stuff. So to avoid that issue here is why I'm asking for the increase over what's been offered by the county. It would put Adam on par with someone of his skill set and his time on the job in Williamson and Jackson County, right about the 72 to 74 range. And the big reason is, the reason we started, I say we, when Judge Denny got me the numbers, Adam was fielding a $90,000 a year offer from the Jackson County Public Defender's Office. The reason he didn't accept that, and I think they came to an agreement, was more personal. We're live here on YouTube, but ultimately his sister works in that office. They have very strong personalities, and so they decided, family-wise, it might not be a good choice, but it kind of opened our eyes up to the fact that there are counties wanting to poach Adam specifically. To start running their offices. Saline County has shown some interest. Now that Casey Eisenhower walked away from her $130,000 part-time contract with IMRF benefits over there. I believe our discussions about what Saline County would entail, work-wise kind of deterred Adam at this point, but that is the type of interest Adam's been getting. So that is why I am asking. I do believe that at least try to have one of the two judiciary offices upstairs running efficiently would still help with any type of, I don't want to say issues, but that sounds negative, but anything coming up here soon after November 1st when Mr. Lloyd leaves. So that is the main reason for the ask, is I don't want to lose Adam. I actually think it would be detrimental to the county in general. He feels, while I handle all the felonies and a lot of the substantive work, and in that sense, he feels an extremely high volume of traffic misdemeanors. He's in juvenile court with me every Thursday. One of the things that he has had to take on that's not necessarily in his contract is, due to my history in this county, I can't handle most of the post-conviction matters, which is when somebody's been convicted, they've gone through the entire appeal process and been shot down. So they have one last step to do some constitutional claims. It's called the post-conviction matter. They're very in-depth, they're very intrusive. Right now on his plate, he has Curtis Carr, William Wasman, and one that slipped in my mind, which are all hefty. And I mean, he's taken no complaints. He's not, up in arms about it, and it's a lot of added work that technically wasn't a part of his description or job duty. So it's one reason that I just want to keep him around. He's a very hard worker, so that'd be my pitch to the board. I'm just asking to kind of get him on par with some of the other counties. So we're running, I'm sure eventually, I'm not going to have any choice but to lose him. But at this point, if we can keep him a little longer, I really like that for my office in the county. So that is my ask.
Without divulging any comment, have you discussed these numbers with him?
A little bit, still my mentor always played his cards close to the vest, especially with talking to employees. So I've discussed it, and especially in the matters of, he's come to me to ask advice about the offer from Jackson County as well as the Saline County opening. I always try to tell him, obviously I'm biased, I don't want him to leave, so I'll try to be upfront with him. But yes, we have discussed them, that would keep him here happily. He's never proposed an end date. He's not saying he's going to be here 2 years, 3 years, but the interest in him is out there. So yes, we have discussed it, and he knows that would put him on par with ultimately like his sister, who has got just a little more experience than him in Jackson County, and some of the Williamson County ASAs and PDs that are on the same level as him. So it would keep him here. He would be happy with that. He's actually very excited to know that I was, kind of arguing that for him.
So Daniel, just to clarify, I have the correct amount. Is that what you were thinking? Like, I have 73,458.
Yeah, that puts us, quite literally in the quote unquote sweet spot between 72 and 74. That seems to be the average, like I said, across the other counties.
Do these guys sign contracts with us, or they just can come and go as they please?
So it's an employment contract that sets the parameters of job duties. It's not like a 5-year contract or anything like that. So yes, he can
Either side
your eyes.
wash the contract at any given time?
Correct.
Not getting off subject, is that something that we need to look at? Or is that feasible in that position?
It's something that we might be worth asking Mr. Barkey about, in the sense of, I don't believe professionals such as lawyers, I know some doctors can, I don't know if we can propose that as a part of that and actually enforce it. I'm sure someone can sign it. It'd be the enforceability that if I want to look into. With the issues that we're having, and I think the issues that Mr. Tripp has had, Kevin leaving and all that, I think shows that it might not be a bad thing to explore. To at least know that we're set for 3 to 5 years or something like that. Yeah, I believe that's my only ask, gentlemen. Otherwise, I will get with Ms. Johnson, because I don't believe it's necessarily pertinent to today. But I believe in my budget the last few years, we've had some money for office furniture, things like that set aside that we kept in some of my accounts here, or in my line items, that I will be returning now that we have that public defender grant. We were able to fully furnish and do all new IT for my office through that grant. So, like I said, while it's not necessarily here nor there today, I will get with Andy about that and be returning some money to the county. So.
We want to,
Completely up to you guys. Do you want to hear them all and then go back through them? You can. If you just want to say, if you know for sure that yes, you're good with it, you can tell me and I can just put yeses now.
what do you guys think? You want to opinion on the situation, or if you know? I don't care.
Will, I think it'd be a good idea.
I mean, my first question for me over here being my first time on this is, we have everybody asking for everything, and I know Angela does a great job, Angela does a great job with this. But if we put all these increases in there, I don't see a total bottom line budget with what we have coming in. Are we going to be good with this? I don't know how you guys have done this, yes, or?
She's pretty well already done that. So,
If you were gonna have an issue with money, I would have told you. So you should be fine with getting, with the requests that came through. We have not a whole lot of requests that are in here, so you'll be fine.
Okay.
I mean, it's basically, we put aside money, we try to save money every year for like, the courthouse repair and maintenance, because we put money into that fund, because if the AC units ever go out, it's a huge expense. So basically, the money you spend on this, then we just adjust how much we put aside for
contingencies and
Yes.
everything else.
contingencies, for the repairs. Eventually, I'm hoping to get that courthouse repair and maintenance fund up high enough that we could stop putting money into it. But right now, I've been working with Adam, because he's like, he put it in there, because if that unit goes out, we'll clear that account out.
So back to your original question, I mean, do you want to vote on each department as they go, or do you want to wait till the end and just?
I don't care. I mean, I'm not,
No, we can vote on it as we go. I mean,
yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I mean, if we got questions, we'll just go
Okay.
up.
what we
So,
did last year.
Okay.
I'll make a motion, we approve the request.
I'll second that.
You don't even have to vote,
Yeah,
you
you
just have to tell me.
Okay.
You guys will
You'll
always just
vote.
take consensus and go, and you'll vote at the end. It's
Okay.
basically, well, on the budget.
So it sounds like you're all good with this increase for the, yes?
Yeah.
Daniel, you're more than welcome to stay, or if you're done, you're done.
Well, I appreciate that, but I don't wanna act like I don't care, but I'm gonna go upstairs and do some other stuff, so. Thank you, gentlemen, I appreciate your time and you hearing me out.
Thanks, appreciate you.
Always. That's where you come behind with the handcuffs and you go.
Don't take a
I
ride.
mean, I say, don't take a ride.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna skip the next one. I don't know if Judge Denny's, one is coming in or not, so if he doesn't, I'll go back to it and explain it, but, and Jeff is not here for the highway. I don't think he's planning to come, but, I'll skip him for a minute too. So the sheriff, what I have down for the sheriff is the stuff in red basically means we've already approved it. We've committed to it from previous years, or it's a normal. So if you remember, we have a vehicle rotation plan, which puts aside money for 2 new sheriff vehicles every year. And then the tasers are what you guys approved last year, which was a contracted amount that's for the next, I think,
Tasers,
five
cameras.
years.
That's the taser cameras and everything.
Yes, yeah, so that's the amount that we've already signed the contract for. So the new request we have for this year is for a new position, to have new position currently, I mean, we've had it in the past, for a chief deputy position. And so the requested salary amount is the 66,800, and the benefits for that are 29,900, and the benefits are so high, but that's just what they are, because you have health insurance and all of that in there. So, basically, that's what the sheriff is asking. We have a current, employee downstairs that he has in mind for the position. Do you want to explain more?
Yeah, so Anthony Pena, since I've been there, I mean, he stepped up. That camera system there, which is the body cams and everything that goes with it, I mean, he stepped up to the plate with that. If there's a car that, Cody Hand's lights aren't working on the car right now, He's the guy that's going out there fixing that. I mean, he is a huge, huge asset for this county. He's that great utility man.
So what's Anthony's current pay now? So if he's going to be getting an increase, is that-
Well, no, it's
are we
actually
going to be
a
hiring somebody else to
hiring
take
somebody.
Anthony's spot?
Yes, so Anthony is currently in dispatch, and the sheriff wants to promote him to chief deputy, but then replace his position. So,
That's a dispatcher.
yeah.
Dispatcher position.
so it is adding another position. I will say this, I caution you guys every year adding people, because people are the most expensive thing, and people are hard to get rid of. But I will say that the sheriff's department has a very young staff right now. So we're kind of saving some money in the budget off their salaries, but it's also kind of hurts to have that young of a staff, because you don't have all the years' experience, so.
And that's another reason to have somebody to step up to the plate because of all the young guys we have there. I mean, he's a huge asset for downstairs. That's just all I have to say about that.
Well, I sat in on a meeting with him and Anthony and Angie, and so, I mean, you guys, do I want to add somebody? No.
But you know, he saved the county a ton of money by going out there working on that stuff. Because if he wasn't working on it, we'd be taking it to somebody and paying them to work on it.
I mean, he's the buffer between mayor sometimes. There's things that he can fix down there, because mayor's gonna be all day getting there. I mean, he's just, he's that fix-it guy. And it's not just mechanical, I'm talking about other things too.
He sets up all of our training. He does, keeps track of all the guns. He does all of our range training. He does all of, plus, like you said, our crew down there is so young. I mean, you're gonna have to add employees. We have 3 people that have worked here for over 25 years going out next year. I mean, and they're doing huge jobs because they've accumulated them as they've gone. Nobody is gonna be able to step into their shoes and take over everything that they did. We're gonna have to, it's gonna have to either be another employee or we're gonna be in overtime out of this work, which we already are. I mean, we're in major overtime.
David Wan leaves December 15th. I mean,
Turner's gone.
he's a huge asset. Turner's leaving next June, July,
yeah.
whenever he turns 50. He's a huge asset.
I just, for the record, and we discussed this in the meeting, my only concern is that, or I guess my gripe, that we've got 2 detectives on the payroll and they don't do the road work, and they could. And I know we're kind of stuck in that position, you're stuck in it, and I know you don't necessarily disagree with me, but anyway, I'm just talking off the cuff here. I mean, but I understand what you guys are saying.
How much overtime are you paying right now, on average?
We're doing about $3,000 payroll.
$3,000 payroll.
We've also,
So $6,000.
in the last month, you've been 2 months, 3 months now, we've been without Robbie.
Yeah.
We just got that one guy hired. He's downstairs doing training right now, be able to get that direction. So we have him back on the road. So, that's been a hit. We had Adams in the spring. So, got those hits, but you're still gonna have, we're still gonna have the overtime with
So
transport.
basically paying $6,000 out a month on overtime.
Mhm.
So.
I would hope that the overtime would go down a little bit by adding the person, but
Well, that's
it's
kind
not
of
going away,
It's kind of what I'm thinking, because, 10 times 6, 12, 72.
The other thing, just so you guys know, because like Max said, we met with the sheriff in Pena, but we also talked about the fact that we feel like, Pena's been here long enough, he's experienced, we know that he can do the job, and Originally the sheriff had said, I'm good without a chief deputy, which was great. But now he's lost some of his senior people, so, he's looking for a chief deputy, but we've discussed the fact that, if we put this position in and then Peña retires so many years down the road, it doesn't mean that this position automatically goes to the next guy up.
There's nobody down there right now that can do what Anthony does.
Yeah,
So
we
it's
don't even
not-
have any
So
sergeants.
after he retires, I mean, we can do away with that position.
Well, you can decide.
Yeah,
I mean, that would
we'll
be-
decide. I might be up here begging, or I might go, I agree. There's
So it
nobody
would be a,
to step up in that
it's a
position.
union issue.
Huh?
It wouldn't be a union issue.
Well,
You know?
Oh.
He gets out of the.
Yeah, he's out of the union.
He'll be out of the.
Yeah, union.
Is this.
Well,
It's a non-union position.
if it cut down that overtime, my people, that's got, I'm okay with it. What I'm trying to say.
I'm good, I mean,
I want to say one other thing. We saved a pile of money this year with the jail, but right now, Monday, I don't know what it is today because I had other things going on this morning, but Monday, I had 18 people in jail. So sort of the conversation we had September 18th, look, you guys, we're going to clear out this jail and eventually it's going to stack back up. It was a conversation I had with Tripp Tuesday about, this is stacking back up, we got to clear this out. But I mean, after September 18th of 23, 5, 6, 7. I mean, that was the whole conversation I had with you in June when we was talking about moving to Pulaski County. We're not even close to 10, and they're out on pretrial release. They're getting arrested again, and they're detaining them. So I'm saying that to you, so be careful about the budget. Don't cut it too much, is all I'm saying on the holding them in
Yeah,
jail.
that $500,000, but you.
Yeah. So, I mean, there was a lot of money that, the governor saved us last year by
I think
getting
we
this
should be
done.
conscious of our budget and not be arrested,
Yeah.
not do stuff to get arrested, Dave. We need to explain our budget to these criminals.
It still won't be.
No, it still won't be anything that we used to pay, but at the same time, I would be cautious.
So the budget, last year I had it at 560. This year I have decreased it I was averaging 30,000 a month. And I did that by looking at the last 3 months that we've had. We had 23, 24, and 29. Do you think 30,000 a month? Because you're gonna have some that may be higher, but you're gonna also hopefully have some that are lower, maybe.
Agreed.
Do you think that's a good?
It's just progressively grown since we had the Pulaski County conversation. So that's just something I wanted to make sure we brought up in here.
Stop giving people bribes. Yeah. No, now they're my own boss.
So are you guys good with this? Do you want to come back to it? What do you say? Good?
I'm good with it.
Mosey on,
What'd you say, Frank?
mosey on.
Oh, okay, that's fine. I think that's all that I have for you, Sheriff, right?
We were easy peasy.
Yeah, you don't have to leave.
Hey, yeah,
I just
you
meant, that's the
you
only
want
thing
to
I
get
have.
us breakfast sandwiches now?
Last one in.
Huh?
You were the last one in. You barely beat Lance,
I'll
so.
get.
So he was the last one, so
I was doing work this morning. I think I'll be.
Barely counts, huh?
Lance, did you know that?
thank you.
Thank you, guys.
All right, I'm gonna skip to Tammy's because she just has one item, on this list. Basically, it's to put the map on the internet. Tammy, I'm gonna let you explain it because I don't, know the details of what.
Well, and I've had 2,500 in there every year, it seems like, right? Since I've been trying to get the map on. And I didn't put anything this year because I kept trying to made contact with DevNet to see is that price the same, has it changed, kind of revisit it. Well, as of yesterday, they said, person I spoke with, well, just go ahead and keep the 2,500. I told Angie I'd rather pad it with another 1,000 because I can't believe prices have not gone up since 21, which is when I began trying to make this happen. They sent me a test site a couple years ago. It didn't have dimensions on it. Doesn't do us any good to have our map on our Union County website with no dimensions. That's what most of our phone calls are, you know, lot sizes. So they're still working on that. So that's what that amount is for. But prior, there had been 2,500 in there each year that I had asked for, but I'm bumping it up 1,000 to cover any increases that I'm sure in the end would have occurred since the last estimate I got in 21.
It is kind of odd it had to change.
I think they just didn't.
I think they were winging it.
Quote.
Yeah, right, because I sent them a new shape file in May. August, I get my questionnaire from him. I said, hey, any change, any change? Have you figured out about the dimensions? And so then by yesterday, when I was desperate, I just think they said, use that last one. So I said, we have a budget meeting tomorrow morning. And, but I would feel more comfortable just padding it.
So when do you think this will happen?
Well, I mean, I hope it happens tomorrow. I mean, I am kind of waiting on it, but it's part of our DevNet package. Now, we have Bruce Harris that we do the mapping, but we have them also. But I don't know if it's something between DevNet and Bruce Harris, they have to get together and link up. I mean, there's something, there's a problem there, and I want that map on there. We get so many phone calls about, from preparers, you know, attorneys and abstractors, lot sizes, things like that. It's like a missing component that we need because we've tried really hard. We don't have all of our parcels sketched and all the information on the website, but we have a lot. So people really appreciate that they can go on the property search, pull up an address, pull up a name, and there's sketches, there's photos, that's just like the missing component. I want the map on there.
So do other counties use the same,
Yes.
do they have it?
Well, many of the counties pay Bruce Harris to host a separate site. But DevNet, when we went to them back in 14, or I can't remember what year we switched to DevNet, they assured me that we wouldn't have to have a separate company host, that would be included. You know, we have that wedge site that we pay for. So I'm sticking with them. I hope it doesn't come to it. It might come to at some point. I just have to see if a company like Bruce Harris will host it. You know, when I say host, it's on our website, but you're basically paying them like we do with DevNet to host that.
Is our contract with them a yearly thing or?
With DevNet?
Yeah.
Is that yearly?
Yes,
And you pay yearly?
yes.
That's for the whole package.
But that's
County
for
clerk,
all.
treasurer.
Right, right.
So this increase, if there's an increase for this service, would be added to that annual DevNet contract.
Seems like I keep hearing their name come up from everybody that they're not. What's that?
Have a hard time.
Doesn't it?
Yeah,
And so,
okay, maybe I agree
I mean, just a normal vendor stuff, but I don't think it's that bad. you know.
I think we all get aggravated at times with all of our vendors, like when it's one little situation that we want done.
Yeah. I don't know the better one out there, so,
You know, there's not a lot of tax software choices.
yeah.
Same with mapping.
I'm good with that. I mean, I don't, that's not a big ask. I don't think.
No. Okay,
I
We'll
think
get that
that's,
figured out.
that's all Tammy.
that was the only thing different than any, I believe the only thing different that I can
Good deal.
All right.
So we're good?
We're
Thank you.
good.
I would love to stay,
Thanks, Tim. Have a good day.
but you should.
I'm gonna jump to Caitlin before Cody because she's got one item.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
probably the last person that needs to be in here since I just got a new building.
so from animal control, we have one request besides the new building.
Yeah, I know.
Which honestly, I don't even know that I needed to put it on here when she just gave you the amount because it's $800. So it's not like a huge decision for you to make. But, I wanted Caitlin to kind of show you what
Yeah.
she's wanting to do over there. So she, printed some.
So I pulled a little picture off of Google, and it really doesn't show exactly what I'm wanting to do, but I can like point and follow along. But this is the only thing that I requested on the new budget, so I figured I'd go ahead and come here today. So whenever we pick up any type of livestock, that's goats, pigs, sheep, horses, mules, donkeys, which I've pulled, sorry, I didn't know you.
No, she's being.
It's not a very good picture. So everything has to come to either Ken's house, which he's been the designated livestock holding facility, or it comes to mine. And I had 3 goats in my dog pen for 2 weeks this year. So it's not a big deal bringing them to my house. It's actually kind of nice because I'll also have everything already there. But it also opens up our own herd to diseases because we don't know if these animals have been vaccinated or if they have a current Coggins test or if they've been dewormed. And then, you know, just with like the Ray Heinrich and Cato case, then you've got people that are stalking your property because you got a horse or something there.
Okay.
Yeah, so moving to the new building this year, we will be dozing everything except for the carport that's there. The carport is 18 feet wide and about 22 feet long, which the way that I was looking at it, it's gonna be similar to this picture. So you can get welded wire fencing, which is non-climb for mainly goats and horses and stuff. Can box this in on all sides and run a divider down the middle of it and have 2 gates on the front. Welded wire mesh gates, also so small livestock can't get through it, with wooden corner posts added to tie the fence off and to add stability to it. And then we also have boards going across the top of the fence, because if you've ever seen welded wire fence, there's little barbs on the top of it to keep people from getting hurt feeding them. And it also helps with the non-climb. But we can turn that carport that now doesn't have an intended use into a livestock shelter that is going to meet all of USDA's requirements. And then there's also existing security cameras over there. There's 2 of them actually, one on the front of the carport and then one at the back, that would be surveillance at all times.
Is there a carport already there then?
Yes, yeah, it's what we park the van under, and we've got a couple dog pens under it, but that will no longer be used with the new building. And then that way we have somewhere, it's not gonna be extremely nice. The carport's in very good condition. There's no leaks, there's no holes, there's no dents or anything. But
Leave it where it is, or you know, move it.
we can leave it where it is, I think, absolutely. And another good thing about that carport is underneath a very thin layer of gravel is rubber mats under that entire carport. So we can take that gravel, rake it off, and then there's rubber mats underneath it, which disinfecting and everything else.
Do you need grass?
Nope.
Your feet are bedded.
Shavings.
So ours is not this big though, right?
Yes.
The carport is
I think
like
ours
that
is
big?
bigger.
I think ours is longer than that. I just pulled that picture off of
Right.
Google and I was messing around with it on Word, trying to like draw where I wanted.
So what kind of livestock can go in it?
All of it.
A horse?
Horses. It'll be plenty big for a horse. Horses, mules, donkeys, sheep, goats, pigs.
And only one divider
and
for
only
two,
one
for
size.
2 sizes all you need?
2 sizes is all we need, just in case we get males and females.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if you.
The bear.
Don't tell
That's
her
what
that
that
she
caddy
wants
was
to
for. I
catch the
was
bear.
looking for it.
No.
Just gave me Coca Belly.
They spotted it like a mile from the shelter. I was looking.
And I had to text her and said, do not go catch that bear.
I gave her a direct order not to catch
Yeah,
it
me
anywhere.
Bring it home and
My
raise it.
wife would tell you, she was on.
Oh, that's good to know. I'll call her
Yeah,
next time.
no, that's not, she's not allowed to.
So it looks like it, I mean, really, it's not a whole lot of money, it just depends on if that's something you guys want. And do you want it there, and
That's about as cheap as a facility for a large animal you're gonna.
Yeah, I think it's pretty good for.
The total cost, it comes out to $766.38, but we round it up.
I got where that installs, I can probably.
Yeah.
Cheap.
Yeah, I tell you, I just bought a bunch of fence posts, the other day, just to see how expensive this stuff is. I'm $800 and just a little bit of a run in the fence, about as far as near that back wall. And I'm still building, so.
And I added on there too, like Stephanie and I, between me and her, we can build this. Like I've got a motorized fence post digger at my house. It's an auger with a motor on it that'll drill all the posts. She's got impacts and stuff. Kristen's got impacts that we can use. And so we don't have to also hire somebody to build it. It'll look just as
We
good.
can do that, we can do that just in a weekend.
Oh, yeah.
You know, actually, it'd take, what, half a day?
Yeah. Yeah, if there was a couple of us out there tackling it, we'd have it done pretty quick. And I've already got all the drill bits that I need gates.
I do too, so.
You good with it?
I'm good with it.
Check the
Brandon's
box.
like, move on.
Yep, I'm good.
Check the box.
Okay,
All right, we'll go to that appointment.
all right.
Stephanie. Thank you.
All right. We'll go to Cody. He's still here. All right, so, Cody and I have discussed this, and, the ambulance here, we are gonna put out to bid really soon.
Yeah.
Any day now, I mean, any time now, as soon as we get time to do it. So this will be a purchase. If you remember, just like the ambulance vehicles, this is something where I put aside $75,000 every single year, so that when it's time to buy one, we already have the money aside. So we've already approved this, the money's already there, and we're good. So that's why I said red. So then the new request, I'm gonna skip over this one for a minute, go to some easy ones. He's looking for 6 bollard covers. I think we got budgeted some last year, but these
Yeah.
are different
Well,
ones.
so what happened was that the original ones I had quoted last year, they stopped selling them, so the price went up in them. So I was able to get 12 of them. They're already out there. They look awesome. They make it a lot easier to see at night for them to back into the bays, avoid damaging the building. So this would just do the last 6 to finish the front of the bays in front of the office.
So basically you have 6 more that don't have one there right now.
Yeah, so that's just the last 6.
So that's what that is. The next item he has here, I'm gonna let you describe what this is, Cody. It's a rescue door openers to the generator.
All right, so one problem we ran into last year, or this year during the storm, was that with the power out, the rescue bays are not on a generator. So we had to go and manually open the doors, and I had to hold them open with stakes for someone to drive the rescue trucks out for an emergency. So this would just be simply running the power from our backup generator that's connected in the building, that's connected to the rescue building, over to those openers, adding them on. Waller quoted us $800 to do the job. So that's all that is.
All right. This item is for 4 powered suction units. I had Cody send me a picture so I can show you, and then we can talk about it.
Right.
So it's this. Do you want to explain what this does?
All right, so currently our portable suction that we would take into a home for someone who's got some sort of object or blood or something in their throat. It's a manual suction device, and it's quite limited on what it can remove. And as medicine advances, we're getting to the point where we're starting to get towards using drugs to help intubate someone. Our system says those manual devices are no longer, gonna be suitable to do that job. That we need to have these powered units where we can actually take and remove the mucus, blood, vomit, and it goes straight into a controlled container instead of the manual suction where we're taking suction out 5 to 10 cc's at a time, spitting them off on the ground, creating a hazard. And it's just the advancement in medicine. We're gonna have to go to these. Most other places around us already have these units on their trucks.
So Cody, this unit does the suction, and then there's a container that it's holding it?
Yeah, so
And
that,
then is it something that you dispose of and we have to buy more of?
so we already carry these containers.
Okay,
Yeah, so this is just adding a portable unit, so since our protocols now are that we're going to a home to do CPR, we're not bringing them back to the ambulance where we've got that powered suction that's mounted on the truck. So this is something we would take in with us with the AED, with the Lucas device. That way we can, clear airways to intubate. It's just as medicine protocols change, we've got to change with them.
Well, they're much quicker than the manual ones too.
Well, I
Speaking
mean,
of experience.
it's not even close. To go
Yeah.
from 5 to 10 cc's of fluid to pull in 300 cc's in 3 seconds, you can't.
So for 4 units, it's $3,500, not $3,500 each, it's $3,500 total for the 4 units. Do you want me to go on, or do you want to wait for Brandon?
Go ahead.
Okay, so the next item that Cody has on here is for 30 women's and 30 men's Class A uniforms. Which I think I kind of asked you about them. Are you just wanting to replace all the current uniforms?
Yeah, so we're going from the light blue to a darker navy color that hides stains a lot more. And it's something that we can actually order through Gulls, who we're ordering all of our other uniform supplies, rather than having to order through another uniform shop, which the one we've been ordering from has now closed down. So we'd have to find someone else to order those through. So this would just be a single uniform change over to having these all match.
What do you do with the old ones? Do you collect them, or can they
I've
still
got a
wear them?
closet full of old uniforms, and most of them have holes and sweat stains.
No, I mean, do you allow them to wear whichever one, or you collect the old ones and say, we're
Well,
wearing the new ones?
I'm gonna say we're gonna collect them and then we're gonna switch everything over to these. That way everything's uniform and we know exactly who has what, because some of that stuff wasn't tracked for several years.
How often do we buy uniforms now, regardless of color?
I mean, really just, most of the time it's when someone's new. Otherwise, we may buy an extra uniform here or there for someone who's got a hole or.
Just as needed. And in the wintertime, they usually make one purchase. Well, they, I don't know
Yeah,
what you did, but
winter.
for winter stuff,
Yeah.
every winter, but is that including pants also?
No,
That
so
amount
these
you
are
gave
just
me?
the Class A tops. It's just,
So what are you doing for pants?
They wear.
we already have,
Dark blue pants.
we're gonna use the same pants.
Okay, same pants.
Yeah.
So that's what that is. So it's the estimate is $3,000 for
60.
60 shirts. And then this is I'm not even gonna try, Inferno neonatal restraint system. I think I nailed that.
Good.
And so that's what this is that you're looking at up here on the screen. This is what it looks like. This is what you use it. It is to be able to transport a newborn infant along with a mother. I talked to Cody about this, but it looks like at current time, you're not allowed to transport them together legally because
Well,
you don't have
you're
a way to.
legally supposed to be transporting them in 2 separate vehicles, which isn't the best option for a mother and child. So this allows baby to be transported right onto the parent's chest, and this will go up to 1-year-old child, and then we've got a different device for 1 year up that we already own. So this is just filling that last gap of transport device.
Is this for one or for all the trucks?
So this is for all.
This is, well, I didn't write that down. How many?
It's for 4.
And that's the 3,000, right? Total? It wasn't each, was it? I didn't miss that one.
No, I think they're 8 something each.
Pulling it up to make sure. Was the quantity. Yep, so the 3160 that I have there is for all 4. They were about $800 piece. And you have 4 because
There's 4 trucks.
Yeah.
Because you just don't know which ambulance you're gonna be in.
Right.
I just wrote.
We're just about around.
So, that's that. And then the last item that he's got on here, I don't have an amount for, so I don't really know how supposed to budget for it unless we get an amount before the budget, is finalized, which would be really soon. But, your request for wellness fitness program. So do you want to talk to them?
So
about
we'd already, talked to Rise and had got those numbers previously, but now Snedeker is currently working on trying to contract with them to add them as a fitness location. So there's gonna be some sort of discount there for the employees. And so this is something I put on there just along with the OSHA proposal that was put in this year that would require all EMS and fire agencies to have a fitness program in place, including providing gym equipment due to the fact that we're having to lift such a weight.
So is that a requirement that has passed
Not
already?
yet.
Okay.
It was proposed this spring, they've gone through the question periods. So now we're just kind of waiting to see what the final OSHA ruling is. But more than likely, this is gonna be included. Some of the things they're gonna knock off are gonna be more dealing with firehouses and how they're built. So they're probably gonna be requiring us to have some sort of established fitness program that says, we're doing wellness checks on how everyone's doing physically, where they need to work on, providing them a place to take and, hit their levels of, this is the minimum requirement for lifting, for, arms, legs, backs.
What was your quote you got before?
I don't know off the top of my head. Because I had talked to Rise Fitness Forum and then the gym here at the end of the street. And I got all three numbers per person. And then
Is
they
that something Snedeker is looking at as far as
Well-
paying part of it?
Yes, they're looking, on having a discounted cost. So that's kind of what we're waiting on, is to see how much will be discounted or if they'll basically knock it all off, cover it all.
So right now, our insurance company, we found when we went to that meeting, has a program with mostly larger gyms, so like Planet Fitness and all of those, where it's part of your insurance, they will pay for your membership fees, or at least it's really reduced, what you have to pay out of pocket. But what Angela and I did after the meeting was approach them and said, we don't have a Planet Fitness anywhere, near us. Can we recommend our local gym? And so we started that process. We're just waiting to hear. So they have the name, they're making contact with the local gym, they're seeing what they can work out and to see if they can add that to our insurance, which if they do that, it won't just be for the ambulance department, it would be for any of our employees that would get a discounted membership.
A lot of people in the sheriff's office go to Rise.
Yeah. So we're just kind of waiting on that, but that could be a while, and it sounds like this requirement, we don't know if it's gonna go into effect or not yet, but, I don't even know what to tell you. I have to have an amount to put in there.
We think that'll be for full-time and part-time?
Well, because
Because we have one through Black Diamond in Marion, but ours is only for full-time.
See, because if it goes through OSHA, then it's gonna be a requirement
For everybody, no matter if you only work 10 hours a week or
Yeah.
work 50 hours a week.
But see, how will that work? Because most of our part-time people have full-time jobs also somewhere else, which would be required to provide them with the gym membership.
Well, it would be because the proposal they had to do, every 2 years, you had to do fitness testing, essentially a physical, along with doing what we kind of do at Work Care, where we have an established skill level that you have to perform, and they basically judge how well you're doing that skill level, and then say, all right, here's where you need to improve so you can meet the standards. So we have to establish standards of, you have to be able to carry 75 pounds up and down 3 stairs, something along those lines, and then have testing parameters. Here's what you have to do to increase those. Here's the gym to go and do it at.
Do you think that rule's gonna make us, I'm not saying that it's not a good idea no matter what, but do you think that rule's gonna make us pay for a gym membership? That just seems crazy to me that they would actually make us pay for
Well,
a gym
it-
membership.
because it's, it's focused on all EMS and fire. When you think about professional firehouses, they have gyms in them already. So they're gonna be looking more on the, well, you need to provide some way for your people to meet the physical standards and keep their physical fitness up.
Dealing with OSHA, government, they don't
Have common sense.
care as far as mandating whatever. Well, I mean, do we not have a ballpark figure to start with? I mean, if Snedeker takes it over, I mean.
Because I don't remember what the values I got earlier in the year were. It's been 6 or 7 months since I had called. Because I think their current rates were around 35 a person, and they were gonna drop it down for so many people.
35 a
To the
month,
lower,
a person?
yeah.
How many people do that?
They're averaging around 20.
So they do it
There's your
20,
worst
30,
case scenario.
600 bucks a pop. times.
How much?
$8,400 is 35 a month times 12 months times 20 employees. But that's at their current rate,
Yeah,
and he said they were gonna go lower, so.
yeah, because I mean, they gave me a number lower than that just for having more than 10 people. And then if we can get a discount, countywide, then that'd be.
Is that something you can look up, Cody, back to what rate he gave you without, because like, even if I just reduce it by $5, it goes from 8,400 to 7,200, so.
Because I can't remember if I
$5.
sent you an email with it, or if I.
I guarantee you work with us and get it to 30 bucks a person.
Oh.
No problem.
Yeah.
I would, I wouldn't be surprised if it does go to 20 or 25, to be honest
That's what I was
with you.
thinking.
Kind of thing, go down 20,
That's,
around there.
yeah.
I think you were talking to Angela about this, Cody, because when I got your request, I was like, what is this? But then she told me, so I don't think I got that email.
And the fire department would have to be involved in something like that, get the whole county wide.
There's a special, when I signed up, there's a special rate for NPE already out there.
Yeah, the city of Anna's established out there.
Will it eventually involve the sheriff's office too, or just you guys?
So this OSHA rule applies to fire and EMS,
Right now.
so it's not law enforcement. But, I mean, from
Even
a
if
work
they're-
comp standpoint, unlike,
Even if they're EMS trained and have a certificate, would they be required to use it to keep that?
only if they're under an EMS agency, if they're actively working.
So, I mean, you can tell me whether or not, what you wanna do with it, but before I put it in the budget, I'd have Cody at least go back and find what the quote was, so we know worst case scenario. And it should be less than that, because, I mean, as long as Snedeker can work out a deal.
Because what they told me was that they'd already sent Rise the contract and they're just waiting for it to come back.
Well, I mean, we need to plug something. I don't know if you want to do worst case scenario or take a guess on a discount or. I mean,
If you're good with approving it, then I'll just mark it yes, and I'll get with Cody afterwards, and he can look up what the old quote was, and I'll put that in just for worst case scenario. Right now, the 7,200 is $30 a month, and if his regular rate's 35, I'm sure he quoted you at least 30, if not lower.
I don't see how we're gonna not be able to do it. It gets mandated, I mean.
Well, the question is, do you want to wait for the mandate? Obviously, we want to wait for Snedeker, but once that's resolved, do you wait for the mandate, or do you go ahead and do it as a benefit?
Well, if we wait for it, then we're gonna have to end up paying it out of contingencies or something, if it's added on, I mean, that's
Right.
6 of one, half dozen the other. I mean, I'd be willing to bet money it gets mandated.
I do too.
Because, I mean, this could even be something that, after Snedeker gets their discount, as a county, we can go to Rise and say, we would like to cover everyone in the county, how much would it cost? And maybe save even more that way. Do one $10,000 payment, cover everyone in the county or something like that, if they'd be willing to do that.
Well, I ain't gonna pay for Lance to do it.
What about me?
It'd be dangerous if I got a real good looking
Hey,
head.
neither one of you gonna go anyway.
You don't know that. I might be bodybuilder of the year.
Whatever. I'll be your backup.
Okay, so I played yes, with John to that.
One's on, the one's Franz, we're here to walk you up.
Yeah.
Look out.
So are you good with the bollard covers?
Yeah.
I'm looking at all three of you. Would you go with the rescue door opener to the generator?
I'm good with all of it.
Check the box.
The suction units?
Yep.
Brandon?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I said check them.
Oh, all of them?
Yeah.
You good?
Yeah, we said check them all.
All right. You're done, Cody, except I need to know that price.
Yeah, just give an approximate yes, and we'll go with that.
Did, Dana send you a message, Angie?
Oh, yes, yeah, at midnight last night.
Well,
So
that's
Dana
after I got off
didn't
the phone with
request
Nate.
anything, until midnight last night. And so I don't have it on the list because,
It was midnight.
yeah, exactly, which I was. Where is it? Oh, I have to search. So Dana has requested a rescue vehicle for $40,000 to $50,000 for a used
For what?
for a used, new, to him, rescue vehicle. So basically, he says, I'd like to give the board a heads up on a proposal for a new rescue truck sometime within the next 2 years. Both our vehicles are 24 years old. We are asking to replace the ambulance we are using as our main rescue rig. It's leaking oil, not sure how much life it has in it. I've been pricing vehicles that would match our needs, and we are talking about $40,000 to $50,000 for a used one. I have a dealer coming Friday to assess what size truck we would need and quote me some prices and options. He says he's talked about it. So, normally what we do with this is like you saw in there, this is the year to get a new ambulance. We take the old ambulance and we give it to rescue. That's what we normally do.
Why aren't we gonna do that now?
You can.
I mean, is that?
I don't know that that's any, I don't know that that's any worse than buying a used one. At least it's our used one. We know it's taken care of. I mean,
Well, so the truck that is going to be replaced next is currently 11 years old. It is one of the last tailor-made boxes that was created. It's the one we've had the money set aside for a new engine on for the last 5 years. Just waiting for the engine to go out. I mean, realistically, I don't think it's a good replacement. As we've seen with the last two trucks that we had, that we just could not continue using them just because the maintenance is so high. And that truck that we're looking at replacing, we've not had to do as much maintenance on it as we've had to do on this fourth truck that we're getting ready to replace.
11 years is an old vehicle, but it's better than 24 years.
Yeah.
Just what it's
Well, the difference is that this truck has the 6-liter engine, which is noted to be a bad engine for Ford, and that truck has the 7.3 still, which was a good engine. It's just 24 years old. And we've spent a lot of time working on it and maintaining it. But we spent a lot more on this truck, keeping it up and running over the last just 5 years.
So if we have to put a new motor in it, what's that gonna cost?
Grant had done the
50
numbers
grand?
years ago. It was
About 50 grand.
50,000 for a motor truck?
That's what Grant quoted back then.
Well, and that was years ago.
Yeah, my truck's got a diesel engine in it,
In an ambulance.
and, I mean, I didn't pay 60 grand for the whole truck, brand new.
Yep.
One time.
Well, I mean, the ambulance is gonna be 275,000 brand new.
No, I'm talking about
But
replacing the
just the
motor.
chassis and the engine.
Right, but
Yeah.
what I'm saying is you're saying you didn't pay that much for your whole vehicle, but the ambulance is $275. So Grant's saying the engine inside the ambulance is $50,000.
Well,
I
because
don't know.
that was the quote from Ford for a brand new crate engine, following Ford's guidelines, doing everything that they recommended. Was what that quote was for.
I mean, it may be high, I don't know, that's just the amount that we set aside.
You know, money is in the box. I mean, the chassis is probably like 60, 70 grand.
So let me ask you this, Cody, if we did that with the old ambulance, the one you're saying is not the greatest, in another 3 years, we're gonna buy another ambulance. So then that ambulance could be the rescue. I mean, the one we give it only has to last 3 years.
Well, because the way that we've got the boxes set up, we would go into doing some remounts where we would change out chassis and keep our boxes that were built.
Oh, you're right.
So we could
Going
save
forward.
money on that next one, but then the one after that would be fully replaced. And I think reliability is really the question right now on the rescue truck, just because there's been several instances where we've had to pull out equipment and take it into a different vehicle to get it out to the scene because we couldn't get the truck to start. We just put 2 new batteries in it, and we've got it back up to the point where we can turn the key and start and go. But reliability is really the question. And the 40 to 50,000 is from Douglas Charles down here at Bradford Apparatus, used vehicle, and there's no telling what year, what, basically, that's just him searching for something, saying, this is about what I can find for you for what you want.
He could be 20 years old.
But I think we just want to get on some sort of rotation with rescue vehicles, the same that we have for the ambulance, the highway department, the sheriff's office, where we're buying apparatus that are specific to what is needed and having something that's reliable. Because I know you've seen, when I had to pull out of here in that old ambulance, I mean, it's not something that runs all the time, but when it needs to go, it needs to go. I mean, that's the extrication for the entire county. So being able to get someone out of the vehicle, out of the woods, we gotta have something that we can rely on.
Is the current rescue truck is an old ambulance, is what he's looking for another old ambulance, or is there a different kind
No.
of rescue truck?
He's looking more for something that's specifically a rescue truck, that's gonna have easier access from the outside rather than having to climb up into the ambulance and pull stuff out of cabinets.
Most rescue vehicles are, yeah, you get it from the outside, not the inside. You want to have ambulances, everything's inside. So, but
Yeah, it's just, rescue came out of the ambulance department originally, and so it was always passed down vehicles to rescue.
I think we need a little more information to see what kind of year we're talking.
Well, I don't know if Cody agrees,
Well,
he says within the next couple of
because-
years.
Yeah, Douglas Charles was coming out Friday to look at our base, to
See what
see
we
what
got.
size vehicle we could fit in there. So he could start looking at parameters as far as what's in the used market that he can get a hold of, that he can check through and make sure it's a, good running vehicle.
And
but
no
it's gonna
option
be
with
used.
giving the current one back to Charles or refurbish or we do like Max was talking about.
Well, it's an old ambulance, and I believe it's a tailor-made, so no one's gonna refurbish a tailor-made ambulance. They're completely out of business, and they've got a scar on their name.
I would wait to see what we get from, what kind of information we get from Charles, come we look at what we technically need.
Yeah, I'll wait on this one.
Because, I mean, really, he's asking to set aside money this year, and then next year, we're gonna look at, here's an actual quote. So this is along the lines of just setting aside some capital funds to build up to that amount.
So in other words, we set aside 20 grand this year.
Yeah.
And then next year possibly add 20 to it.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Yeah.
Is what he's asking.
Yeah.
Or whatever amount. What do you
45,
decide?
75, trying to.
Yeah.
All right. We'll move to Tyler. He's in here. Okay, so from the state's attorney's office, we have, well, one, maybe two requests. The first one is for a new position for an investigator position. The position would work under the 27 hours a week, so they would not get benefits, but they would work over the 19 hours a week, so they would have IMRF. So Tyler is asking for $30,000 for the salary, and then the benefits that go along with that salary are another $4,300. If you're wondering why it's so much less than the other one, is because they don't have health insurance, which is the majority of the benefits. So that's what that is. Tyler, you can explain what this position would do.
So I want to kind of explain the idea of asking for that increase generally. After working through this more, thinking about it last night, I'm looking at this more now. Probably I would modify the request to be about hybrid in nature. We essentially have had to rob my funding for the number 2 ASA position. If you remember, we lost $30,000 in payroll funding through grant funding for one of our victims advocacy positions last year. That was a pretty heavy hit for our payroll line to absorb. So what we ended up doing was laying back on hiring the number 2 assistant state's attorney. We've still hoped to fill that, but we ended up not filling it. That allowed us to offset that loss to maintain the salary for our victims advocate position at the rate that it was already being paid at. This request for the investigator position, I would be modifying that request to be a more like a investigator or ask, an investigator or have that funding set aside in a contingency type situation in the event that we find a good qualified number 2 ASA that might fill that gap. If not, I would revisit the idea of the investigator. The reason I put the investigator position in there, this is not uncommon to see in a state's attorney's office. We have detectives, we have police officers that do investigation. However, there are a lot of times from our side of it on the prosecution where we want to go out and do certain additional investigative work. We want to press on different avenues of strategy and investigation. That includes pursuing search warrants and interviewing people, specifically follow-up interviews, chasing people down. We do have law enforcement assist us with that. Law enforcement in every department, county and citywide, are spread pretty thin. There are times where it's hard for them to be able to chase every rabbit that we're needing to chase for a case. So I put this in here just on the, in the event that that is something that continues to be something we're seeking. Like I said, I want to hybridize that. However, I don't want it to necessarily be something that's a sure thing right now. I would rather it be held a contingency type situation and applied if needed for either investigator or for a number 2 ASA. Right now, we've had our number 2 ASA position listed for almost a year. Can't fill it. It's just the salary is not enough. The number 1 ASA, which will be vacant as soon as Jeremy Lloyd leaves in November, if you're aware or not, I believe you probably all are. We again robbed money from that number 2 ASA position, reducing what's available there again to add to the number 1 ASA position to try to entice more applicants. I have had one applicant that seems to be somewhat qualified, just received this week. Going to be meeting with that person. They are from upstate. They're not a localized attorney by any means. They would be having to relocate to come work down here. But I'll tell you, gentlemen, it's pretty frustrating right now trying to find attorneys that want to come do state work. And it's not just here, it's in every county. Some of the bigger counties that have 5, 6, 7, 8 attorneys working as assistants in their state's attorney's office. I've heard that they've got a few that between that many, they've got less than 20 years experience. So it's everyone's sort of in this situation of having to hire newer, less experienced, or folks who aren't necessarily familiar with our courts here in the area for assistance. But we've got to have, at bare minimum, that number 1 assistance spot filled. But the number 2 would be very important as well. The number 2 spot is important for things that take extra time, such as asset forfeitures, things that involve the juvenile courts as well, conflict cases, that kind of stuff. So number 2 position isn't something that I want to just discredit or abandon completely, but it's not something that I see being filled very soon. I do have a good 7-Eleven candidate right now that I am hoping to be able to bring on at a very reduced rate of pay. And with the hope to position them to maybe become a solidified part of the office. But right now, I'm asking that be held in a contingency type allowance, not that it would be expected to be spent in full at this time. Beyond that, we've got the evidence.com increase up there. I don't believe that's going to be an increase in fiscal year 25. Right now, we're included on the sheriff's contract, but I'm meeting with them this week. Supposed to this morning, but I'm here, so we had to reschedule that. But I don't believe that that's going to be an increase on the budget line right now. So try to keep my request to a minimum. We do have some office equipment things that we could definitely use some stuff that's in a little bit better shape up there. But I'm holding off on that, specifically focusing on staffing.
With this other staffing person that becomes a hybrid, is it still gonna fall under just the 27 hours per week, or is it gonna try to be a full-time position?
I would keep it inside that amount, whatever it ended up being, so it would be a part-time most likely.
Can you not utilize more? Yeah, I brought this up a while ago. We've got 2 detectives sitting down there watching TV. I mean, we don't need 2 detectives and they won't do road work. Can they not intertwine with you on the investigation?
I mean,
I know they do, but I don't.
I look at that more as not just it's every department is what I'm looking at when I say I want to make sure I have enough support to do those extra things, because there's certain times that they're working other cases that we've got, chasing leads down on. This would be someone that would be more plugged into the operations of our office specifically too, that would have, the bird's eye view of what we've got going on specific to our files, which would make them a little bit more easy to direct and focus on specifically what we're wanting, I mean, it's, when you've got detectives in other departments, they've got a caseload they're working that maybe we haven't even gotten those cases yet. Whereas this person will be more focused on things that we're working right now, and more specialized, particularly for things like, if we've got a case we know we want to go to trial, we need to make sure that we've got every little piece of detail, sorted out. So I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna say I don't get help from the detectives, because I do. But not every department at the city level has a detective either, most of them don't. They're gonna be the road officer.
So just like before, I cautioned you on the other ones, I cautioned you on again. Adding people is expensive and it doesn't go away. that's the only thing that it is about having people. I mean, and Tyler and I kind of recall a little bit different of a conversation when we had, but, to my recollection, Max, you were in there too, the agreement was if the first ASA was gonna be paid such a high salary, which is what we have it advertised for, that there wouldn't be a need for a second ASA, because you would have a very experienced ASA versus two mediocre, you know, and when I say mediocre, I mean like the levels of experience that they have. So going back years ago, we had two, and then when Tyler took office, he wanted to combine them as one for Mr. Lloyd, and so we had one, and then the next year he asked for two, and so we added another person, and then this year we only have one, and we used the money towards a grant position that we lost, and now we're back to wanting two again. So I just caution you, I think if we're paying that much for the salary we're advertising for the first ASA, to my knowledge, is more than any other ASA around us is making. I've pulled comps for Jackson County and Williamson County.
Now, that's advertised on a range, though, that's gonna be dependent on that person's qualifications and experience, so. it's not
So
to
you
say
don't know
that-
if this applicant is looking at the top end of that range or? low
Well, the
end?
way it's listed is range, right? And
Yeah,
I'm not
that's what I'm
committed, I'm not committed to one end or the other, no.
Right.
And really based off of the resume that I got, they wouldn't meet the top tier criteria. They've worked in a prosecutor's office, they do have years of experience, but it was about 10 years ago. They've been in private practice since then, so that would require me to do quite a bit of training up, especially with the things that we all know we had to deal with changes wise in the law. So I wouldn't sit here and act like I'm just ready and willing to put them in at that top level on the salary.
Well, I mean, that's what I recall, that we discussed this, that we would bypass the second assistant for the time being.
For the time being, yes, but it wasn't completely sorted if I wouldn't be still looking for another one.
Right. Well, I get that, I mean,
And we should keep in mind, we still had some salary line left even after pulling it over. That's why I try to keep that open that way. At minimum for, like I said, for a 7-11, which would be a law student attorney that can practice, you can get one of those in for, well, pretty cheap, we'll say that.
So speaking of that, Tyler, the person that you have in mind for that, I put in the budget, the ASA position one, currently what's in there is $120,000 for ASA position one, because that's the most.
Which would be the top.
Yes, and then the ASA position two, I have in there at 19 hours a week so that they wouldn't have IMRF at $15 an hour, because that's the minimum that you can do. Well, I don't know, you may be able to do lower for an intern, but I just put it in at $15 an hour. So that came for the second ASA at $14,820, because this person is coming without their degree in, what's it called, 7-11, is that what you call it?
They're a law student that gets a law license, basically.
So basically, they come here to practice. So I have in there right now for the maximum for the first ASA and the amount that, is that what you were wanting for that person, is under 19 hour or 19 or less?
Yeah, because they're students, they're not going to be able to work full-time,
Okay.
right? So that's, we paired that number 2 position, that's cut more than in half of what the full rate was.
Yes.
When we asked that way.
So you have almost, I'm gonna round up, it's $100 shy, but 15,000 for that ASA. So if you didn't pay the 120 on the other one, let's say you only paid 100, now you have 35,000 for the
Correct.
second ASA if you don't end up going
Which
to
is
two.
why I say I'm looking at that other one as a contingency type thing in the event that we happen to stumble across a number 2 who's a really qualified, experienced.
so you're good with doing the 19 hours on this, and then what we got left over to play with is what we're looking at here, right?
Well, if that's what, I mean,
I mean, we wouldn't need to put anything in contingency.
If you're gonna have savings from the 120, that's kind of what I'm asking.
If you do, yeah, and that's depending on
Right.
what they can bring, you know. Like I said, the one that I have now, I have not met with them yet, I don't have a full rundown on what they're bringing to the table.
How long have we had that new offer out there? I don't remember when we had.
About a month, I'd say, probably.
In July,
Yeah.
okay.
It's close to a month, in fact, it'll probably be coming down pretty soon.
If I kind of understand this right, you kind of had two to begin with, and one of them was on a grant. Is that how I
So
understand
the
that? And
grant was-
went
that
away,
was
and you kind of, and we used that grant to pay one of these other, and then we lost that?
No, the grant
The grant was
wasn't.
funding a second victim's advocate. Okay, so
Okay.
we had two victims advocates in the office at one time. We only have one now, all right, because we lost, not just us, it was a major cut nationwide at the federal grant level. So we lost a staff member when that went away.
Wasn't actually assistant state's attorney.
Okay.
That was, yeah, that wasn't an ASA, that was
Okay.
a victim's advocate.
Okay.
But what we had to do to make it work where we could still keep at least one full-time victim's advocate was pull some of the funding from our ASA position that was vacant at the time. So that cut it back some because we had to roll it over. So Robert and Peter to pay Paul kind of inside of the.
And that's the same thing that Max is talking about right now. You got $2 amounts, you can split it how you want to, basically between the two different employees, if you have.
Well, the one, we gotta keep it 19 hours, so we. don't-
Correct, yeah, correct.
But the grant that he's talking about, the two different grants, one was a part-time grant, one was a full-time grant. So that's why he had to take that money, because we lost the full-time grant, but then the part-time person left. So we gave the job to the full-time person, but it's a part-time grant. So he had to use his budgeted money to cover
And
it.
hybridize
The rest
how
of
we
the
were
salary.
covering the salary for the full-time spot.
Okay. Okay.
So that's,
So, bottom line is, if I'm understanding this right, we're okay with the new ASA position.
we're fine with what he's wanting to offer now. If it's that person, that's already in the budget for that person and the highest that we'll possibly do.
Right.
So if he does lower, he'll have money in his budget left over. Yeah, I just don't know if your guys are wanting to approve additional money to be set
And I'm
aside.
not, again, I'm asking that be a contingency. I'm not asking that it be made a certain thing or go post a job opening today. But as you all can probably figure out, there's a lot of things that are up in the air as far as what our staffing is going to be next year, who's going to be doing what. I feel a lot more comfortable knowing that I have something there in the background if we get into a spot where we're like, you know, good grief, we've got to get a little bit more help here, whether it be in the legalist or in the investigative area or in the assistant state's attorney area. My goal would be not to touch it, but I'm gonna ask that it be at least held in contingency in case.
Well, and your other option is I can put this not in his budget, put it in contingencies, and then if he wants it, you can revisit the discussion.
That'd be fine.
Are we talking about putting in contingency this part-time student too, or is that,
No, that's already gonna be covered with what we're working with right now.
so that's not an add-on?
No,
No, as long as that person stays at 19 hours or less,
We're
that's
good.
already in there.
yeah,
Okay. So how much money are we talking about putting in contingency?
About 35,000 is what it looks like. Which you're gonna have money in contingencies anyway. So as long as, what I need to know is, are you wanting this given in his budget right now, which it doesn't even sound like that's what Tyler's asking, or you just know that he's brought it up now and may, within the next year, come back to you asking. for
Yeah,
it.
that's my big concern. I don't want to get a number one in here and be working with a 7-Eleven and be drowning, right? And if that comes up, you know, I want to make sure I brought it up to you that I might have to be asking for a little bit more to throw in. the pot.
I don't have a problem with it being in a contingency fund, you know?
And that's all I'm wanting to see.
I don't have a problem with that. I mean, you know, if the air conditioner goes out, you might not get another. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the way I'm looking at it. Crapshoot.
Then I don't get to go to the gym.
Yeah, there you go.
So Tyler, are you gonna have an answer like within the next week on the evidence.com? I think you said you have a meeting.
I got a
Friday.
meeting, I'm supposed to be meeting with him right now. In fact, I better get into court right now. I think we'll probably end up meeting tomorrow or Friday, so I should know, I will know something this week, I think.
Right now, we pay for this, but I was telling Tyler, the only bill I paid was to the sheriff's department. So his was included in the sheriff's department. He just has to find out if that's the way it's always gonna be, or if they're gonna bill his office separate.
There was some talk that it could end up being a bill at one time, but I want to get what clarification I can from him, so I'll find out for sure this week.
So I'm just gonna leave this blank but let me know so I know if there's an amount that needs to go.
All right, I'm good with that.
Okay, thank you.
All right, that's it for that.
I've got to go to court, so, thank you, gentlemen.
I'm just gonna start at the top now and go back to the ones that people, oh, actually, Lance, you're here, let's go to yours. Although it's not really a request because we've already signed the contract, but it's an increase to our voter registration software. Basically changing vendors, you wanna talk about it, Lance?
Yeah, so my current vendor's here right now, so out of here, don't mention this because they have no idea that we're switching, but, we are, that's been
It's on video.
I don't care, they're watching. It's needed. I've had many issues for years, but it's just without getting into too much detail, we've got to change. There was a breach with our current VR software company this summer. They did not alert us till about 3 or 4 weeks after this, and most people find out from a reporter calling their office. So anyway, luckily we weren't fully compromised, but we've got to switch. So a lot of this increase is the newer vendors cost more per year, but this is all grant as well. And actually I was working on what I was working on before I forgot, I guess, realized there was a meeting on the grant to increase the request to cover this amount. So there's an IVRS grant that goes by, it basically pays for all of our voter registration stuff. We would get that back. We usually have the past several years. So I just got to work this new increase in there. The state doesn't see any issues with covering the cost. Now, there are conversion amounts that for a new vendor, some new hardware, and for them to take our current database, switch it over, there's a yearly cost that's only be this year. After that, it'll be a consistent price for voter registration. So I would see all that 16,000 or whatever coming back to us with grant money, really. So we normally budget it just in case, but we will get, I'm sure, all of it back by grant.
The 16,000 is what the increase would be this year because of the changeover that he's saying. Going forward, what I'm saying, 11,000 of that cost is a one-time. So going forward, the VR contract would be 5,000 more than what we're paying now. But for this 1 year, it's 16,000 more because of the initial setup.
So in the way the new vendor does it, I don't know how Platinum ever came up with their pricing. They just kind of told us. It's been fun talking to other county clerks with their pricing. Some are lower, some are higher. We're higher, but the new vendor charges per voter. So it's really easy. They have a certain price per voter. So we have 11,800 and some voters. That's our cost. That's how they do it for everybody. So it's a fair price across the board for everybody. How Platinum came up with theirs, because I talked to other clerks that were paying way more than they should have, and some that were paying way less like we were. So there was no rhyme or reason, but anyway, that's how they price it. It's, yes, it's gonna be a little more, but it's a fair price, I think, across, the board for everybody with that, so. Also, to be aware of, we will be switching this company for the election contract as well, but it's not gonna be taking effect until January of 26. So we're gonna go all of next year, 25, with no election contract, so there'll be no, we spend, what,
We have 2 payments.
2 payments left from Platinum, but after that, the GBS is the new company. We will not make our first payment until January or December maybe, or January of next year for them. So we'll go a whole year basically, well, half a year at least without.
We normally pay about 40,000 a year for an election contract, and next year we'll pay 20,000 because we'll go half a year without a
Yeah.
contract.
So really, I think at the end of the day, once this all plays out, that increase will be covered by the grant. And the grant's gonna pay for the conversion costs and all the stuff for this year too. I asked about that and they said, yes, they'll pick all that up as well. So we should be good with that. Other than that.
The election contract, you think it's gonna be about the same as what we're paying?
Well, I'm hoping, see, it's gonna be different. I'm gonna have to hire ES&S to do a little more now than normal because ES&S has to handle some of the stuff now. So I've got a pricing sheet from them, so I gotta figure out exactly what would cost for ES&S to come in. But I know for a fact the election contract is what the first preliminary one I've seen is much cheaper than what we're paying now. So, but ES&S will have some more extra cost in. I think by the time it's said and done, it should be close, about the same, but I don't, but really that's not a budget thing until next year, to be honest. So 25 is a kind of easy one. We only have the consolidated in April. After the consolidated is over in April and you finish out that election, that's when we'll be done with Platinum and then we'll be starting to move over then, so.
Are we good?
One other, we didn't list it on there, with me being the president of the association now, I've got to travel a little more.
You're going to the gym.
And go to the gym too.
Don't forget that too.
That's why, I mean, if I got this order, I gotta keep up around backs. But anyway, I talked to her about the Greek, but I hate to do that to the county. I can use some of my recording revenues for some of that offsets, because a lot of the recording stuff is training and I can use it. So I think next year, I'm gonna try to use that account on some, when it's actual based with recording trainings and different things, and my other travel, I will try to be as cautious as I can. I don't turn in my mileage that much. And
Jamaica or?
no, it's through the great state of Illinois, all the nice flat land area that I get to go, you know, up that way, but anyway, so I didn't ask for an increase this year, but that may be something next year we look at. I'm just gonna see what I can do and try to get a good gauge on what all is gonna be entailed with that new role I've got. But other than that, that's all I've got.
As you were scrolling down, we didn't quite give an answer to Cody for the pre-money possibly to look ahead. Do we want to put their 25,000 in the budget for going forward to set aside for looking for a truck a couple years down the road here, Max?
Or maybe 20, I mean, I'd rather put it in, well, I don't know, contingency then. Or should we put it in the budget?
No, I put it in capital. I would just leave it in the capital fund, because that's what it's gonna be spent at, and if for some reason you don't do it.
We're not hurt.
Because we allocate it to whatever, but that's the fund it would be purchased out of, because it's a capital item.
So are you wanting 20, 25?
One or the other, I mean,
I'll just look at it when I go to the.
I only percent 25 because of the high end of the 50,000, that was half. That's the reason why I said 25.
and that's fine, that's fine.
Just so we had something in there, it's been discussed, we've got
We're gonna
something.
end up doing it, so, sounds like,
Could have a gym membership.
Yeah.
Offset with that.
I should have said this while the sheriff was in here, not that he has really much control over it, but I just thought about it when you were talking about the vehicles. I just also want to give you guys a heads up that animal control is going to need a vehicle next year. Now, our rotation says it comes from the sheriff's department. They were supposed to get one from the sheriff's department this year, along with the assessor's office, and the sheriff's department totaled both of the vehicles before they were given away. So we ended up having to go buy one for the assessor's office, because they had to have one, and the animal control is limped along. They're fine until next year, when the sheriff's office gets 2 more vehicles, but if the same thing would have happened and those would be wrecked, we're gonna have to get animal control.
We gotta buy a vehicle, it's just.
Because we can't keep, I mean, the truck is starting to have some problems, I guess is what I'm saying. So I'm hopeful that our rotation will keep working, and we'll have one of those, but if we have a couple vehicles totaled again, then we're gonna have to do something for a vehicle out there.
Was he looking for the pickup truck or the van to replace?
The pickup truck.
Yeah, I mean, it's got some life left in it, but it's, next year it'll probably be done.
That's what I'm thinking, it's
Yeah.
pretty old. So I just wanna throw that out there. Again, I don't think we need a budget for it. I'm hopeful that the thing would, but it may be something that comes up, so.
Well, we'll just hope they don't wreck 2 more.
Yes. For their safety also.
They are insurance.
Yes. Okay, so going back up to the top, we skipped over the courts. This was the only request that came in from Judge Denny, was for a laptop computer for the second court reporter that's up there. If you remember last year, we had to pay for it's called stenograph, I think, license for her, stenographer license. But I guess her computer is very old, and so he's asking for $1,600 for a computer. Normally, I wouldn't even put computers in here because I budget, I think it's like 25 or 30,000 every year to replace so many people's computers. But since this is not a county employee, I want it on there so that you can see that that's what the request is.
Do you have any money to pay for that anywhere else?
Not according to what he's requested. I don't think the state gives money to cover the office supplies or anything like that for the court reporters. So, he put $1,500, but I know because we just made a purchase of laptops, it's gonna be closer to $1,600.
That's fine.
So, good with that?
No, but, yeah.
Okay. And then the last category, let me make sure I have everybody.
We got highway department, Joey.
Oh, thank you. That's what I was going back for. Okay, so the highway department, the stuff that is in red, we've already approved, waiting on the trucks to come in. You remember, it's been almost 2 years.
Have we still not got any? I thought you were saying we were gonna get a couple of them here a month ago.
No, we don't have the trucks. We have the truck came in, but they're not put together.
That's what I mean, the truck did come in.
But it's not to us.
Yeah.
It came to the place that has to put it together.
Okay.
So they're still saying it's gonna be next year before we actually get the trucks. So that's what that is. So that's already been approved. And then we also approved for him to purchase a tractor last year that he may or may not get the purchase in before this year's up. So I just have it in there, but the money's already been put aside for it. So his new request for this year is for an 80 by 80 equipment shed with 5 doors and a concrete floor. And the request is for $250,000. He's requesting this because he says, you know, you have all these new vehicles and new equipment coming in, and I'd like to put them under something and out of the open. So, that's up to you guys. As you know, we have money set aside for the highway building that we're not gonna use. I don't know if you wanna use it for this.
Where does he want to put it? I mean, does he have enough room down there to?
That down there at the bottom of the hill. Yeah, didn't he tell us Max behind the current building? Yeah. So they're trying to clean up back there and everything.
That new stuff's all put inside.
I'll be honest, I'm really torn on this one because I agree that, you know, to keep the life of the equipment and vehicles for the longest, it's good to get it out of the weather. Coming from my background in where I've been with big trucks. The only thing that's scary is you put all your brand new trucks inside this building and one of them has an electrical problem, which does happen, and it catches fire, you just burned up all of your new trucks. Because they're all beside each other. So like the previous company I worked for, we actually parked our trucks with spaces in between them.
Were they covered in different covered areas?
They weren't covered at all, so they were outside.
What about just carports on them in different areas? I mean, it makes sense what you said, but why could we not have them put different carports just to get them out from under the snow and
You
rain?
mean like individual kind of carports? I don't know. That's why I said I'm torn on this
Big
because
trucks and have snow on, they're gonna be out playing with snow, I mean, honestly.
I just don't see driving around any other county that's got their vehicles inside. But I guess I shouldn't compare us to other counties, but I just think that's a lot of money that, yeah, it would be nice, but again, even a couple carports, we don't necessarily need a concrete floor.
Yeah, I don't know. I wrote what he put, so that's what he had on there.
You need
I don't know why he has concrete.
easier ways or cheaper ways to go about this to keep them out of the weather. I mean, it'll still be cold when they get in them, but, you know, I don't know. I don't think so.
Fortunately, you engineer kind of figure out what she wants to do.
I mean, as far as I'm concerned, for the time being, since we don't even have the damn trucks yet.
Yeah.
I don't see the point of putting that in a budget.
Okay.
I mean, hell, it'll be next year before, damn near budget time before we get them.
And Lance is right, we'll have a new engineer then, so maybe
Yeah.
she'd have a different request or a different idea or
Yeah, I mean,
whatever it is.
that's a lot of money just to. I don't see that that's.
I like Lance's, see the new ladies.
You guys-
No, I think, I'm taking your suggestion, I think that's a good suggestion, you know?
I just, yeah, coming into an
So
office.
for now, we'll put no, at least until we know when we were gonna get the trucks.
Yeah, see when we get the trucks and what's going on then and,
Whatever your feet wet.
you know.
Okay. So the only category I have left is what I've just put under commissioners, because this is just other stuff I need to talk to you guys about. I have the cages for the storage building in red because we already approved them for last year, and I've already made the down payment for the material, but the timing of it, I don't think he'll actually get the second payment, which is the other half, done until next year. So I'll put it in next year's budget, but the money's already there. And that's for them to put like the dividers in the storage building. Okay, so the next two are questions basically for the budget that I just need to know so I know how to fill this stuff in. I gave you guys a packet in front of you that is from Southern Seven. If you're not aware, we levy for Southern Seven every single year. Normally our levy, now we levy like 3 different things, like it's called health department, tuberculosis, and I can't remember what the third one is called, but together is what really the levy, all 3 of them go to Southern Seven. It is usually $52,000 is what we levy for. So I got this letter in the mail, this year, middle of September, as you can see, which basically just says that, you know, they have looked over the money that we're paying and they've looked over their budget and that they are requesting an increase to the levy from $52,000 to $132,000, which is an increase of 156%. So, as you can imagine.
Is it 125,000?
Do what?
Is it 125?
No, because they want 125 and 7. If you look over the far
And the
right.
the 750 underneath it?
And the
Okay, that's what you got,
75.
okay, gotcha, 7,500, okay.
Because they put tuberculosis separate, which when we levy it, it is separate,
Okay.
but for the budget, it's combined.
And
So
beforehand, the 50,000 was combined between them?
52 was
50
combined.
was combined?
That was
Yes.
detailed.
So, I mean, we can do, yes, because P-TEL is the total. So if we levy more for them, we have to levy less for the general fund, is what it is. So P-TEL will allow it because it doesn't go by fund.
I know that's what I'm saying, but P-TEL will affect it at the end of the day, you'll have to cut under.
Oh, absolutely. You have to cut the general fund
Yeah.
budget by whatever you increase their budget by. So when I got this letter, obviously my mouth hit the floor. I couldn't believe they were asking for that big of an increase. So I called them on the phone and I asked her, which is what you're gonna have behind it, to simply send me their budget, which is the first sheet that you have behind it, and from last year to this year. And then also the very last sheet, which is interesting, is a list of what all the other counties pay them. Because their letter hints that if we don't give them this increase, that they may have to cut some services. So I asked her, what's different about this year? So she said they lost some grant money, but when I pushed more, it's the COVID money that they're not getting anymore that they were getting for the last couple of years. We don't have our COVID money either, but she said that they had added some heads, so some people because of COVID, and now they don't have the funds, the grant money to cover those people, so that money has to be made up. If you look at the last sheet, what people pay, I'm not sure how we got to the amount we got to.
Yeah, I mean, why are we getting penalized compared to the other counties?
Well, they're asking for more for all of these counties, and I don't know what the others are gonna do.
But not.
Not near as big of
not
a percentage.
Like us.
For some reason, we were paying, 52,000, where a county like, well, see, because they're basing it off of the EAV. So even though, like, let's say Pulaski County was paying, I'm adding the two together, tuberculosis and then what, was paying like almost 38,000, and we were paying 52,000. They're asking for barely an increase for Pulaski and a big one for us, because they're saying they want it based off of your estimated assessed value, your EAV. So ours based off of a rate, last year, they're saying we only paid 0.02 of our EAV, where Pulaski County, even though they paid the same amount of money, paid 0.05 of their EAV.
I can't help that.
So,
Just for my question, what's the agreement with us and them on this anyway? Where does it say we have to do, I'm not saying cut it, or, you know what I mean, but is there a statute that says that we have to do this, or is there any, it's just
No.
So we just budget what we can budget and go on?
there is no, I've looked it up, as far as I can tell, there is no statute that says we have to budget, or that we have to levy any money for the health department. But, we always have, and I'm trying to
Well,
see.
we can't, bottom line is, we can't afford to decrease our general fund so they can have more money.
Which is what you would have to do.
That's not in the cards. Sorry.
So I guess what I need to know from you guys is, are we leaving it at the same 52,000 which I will say, I think it's been 52,000 for a while, I can look that up. Or are you increasing it? And if you are increasing it, how much do you want to increase it to?
I don't care to increase it a little bit, but nowhere near what they're asking.
I'd be curious if the other counties are increasing any as well.
Well, and that's the thing, is they show me what they've asked the other counties to pay, but I don't know what they are actually paying. Which that looks to me like none of them are, Alexander, they're not asking for an increase at all. Hardin County, they're asking for like 10 grand more. Johnson County is like 30 grand more. Massac is 15 grand more. Pope is 10 grand more. Pulaski is 7 grand more, and ours is a lot. I can't even do that in my head, but I can.
I'm still stuck on that same 5%.
Surely that's gotta be a typo in the phone, if you talk to her, so obviously not.
$80,000 more is what they're asking for us. So, no, I mean, it's not, like, when I talked to her, she said, well, I don't understand why you guys were paying so low of an amount based off of your EAV. And I said, she asked me how it was set, and I said, that was before my time, I don't know when it was set.
I probably don't know too much about that, but you're exactly right. They hired a lot of people during COVID for and they kept them on to put them on their budget and stuff.
Well, COVID's over.
I'm well aware, that's what I'm saying. I probably know more than I should.
I mean, that's
what happened.
Sorry, that's not my problem and not my fault.
They hired a lot of people that were losing some of the grants and then kept them on payroll.
Be like us hiring 3 more commissioners for a half a year because we're gonna be busier. Keep them on forever. I mean,
Just gotta let them know it's a grant, it's a part-time position. If you get a grant, you got a job next year, Lance. Sorry, that's just how it is when I'm signing you up, but everybody knows that.
That's what happened.
I'm kind of like Kent, the amount we discussed that day, 5% would be the most I'd be willing to go.
That's all people let you go anyway.
I agree with that.
I mean, but that's it. I'm not gonna affect our budget, and that's exactly what we're doing in order for them to. Sorry.
So a 5% increase would be $2,600 more.
Merry Christmas.
2,600.
We're already paying 52,
I was thinking 55 in my head, we would go to, so we're right there,
54.6.
so you're right there at it.
I mean, you could say, hey, we're gonna do what PTEL allows us to capture every year from now on. Just gonna think we got 5%.
I mean, and can tell that, I mean, I don't think we owe an explanation period. Either take it or leave it, and
It's like asking, what if we would have overspent, and then ask them, well, can you guys take less now since we overspent?
All right, got it.
okay.
My last question for you guys is the infamous legal bill. So I just want to know what you want me to put in this initial budget for the legal bill. So last year, this year that we're in right now, 24, we started off with a budget of 100,000. So far, we've increased it by 17 when we did our budget amendment, because we needed to. But my guess is by the end of the year, we're gonna be at 150,000. So, actually, I said 155. So initially, when I have the budget put together, I put 150,000 in it, because I think that's what we're gonna come in this year. I don't know if you want it to be 150, if you want it to go back to being 100, if you want, whatever you want it to be.
Well, I'm paying all this extra stuff anyways, I mean, you think it's gonna be 50,000 more?
I think I would put in the budget 150 because I think that's what we're gonna come in this year, is that 150. What is this department? I'll show you what we're at right now. So right now you're at 117,611, but that does not include the last set you guys just approved for $13,000 at the last meeting. She hasn't entered those yet. So we're already at 130. So I'm guessing by the end of this year, we'll be close to 155. So I put in the budget 150 for next year. I just didn't know, because like right now, you guys are seeing them. They're coming to you. Do you want me to put 100 so that at 100 they come to you? Or do you want me to just put 150 so they don't come to you until it's 150?
Is there a way we can even cut that cost down?
No, this is out of our control.
It's a law.
It's,
Can we hire, is there a position that we can hire to offset this, that we're not having to pay that much money?
no, we're hiring it.
Well, we're subcontracting at a higher rate.
We don't.
Can we hire it? No. Okay.
Well, right now we're paying $150 an hour.
Yeah, we're just kind of in a big pickle barrel over all this, you know, I mean, a lot of this is the public defenders, you know, that side of it and different things, so.
Food Safety Act.
So I'd say, yeah, safety act is the big part of this too. So I'd say, yeah, 150. I mean, for me,
in theory, it makes sense to me what you're saying, Brandon, is like, instead of hiring, which it's Brett Barkey's firm, that comes in, because most of this is for guardian ad litem work, most of it is for juveniles. So it makes sense to me what you're saying, do we just hire a person that would be cheaper than the 150,000, but I don't know that you're gonna find a lawyer plus benefits. I mean, your benefits are gonna be 40, so it would just depend if you could find a lawyer for 110, and it's not gonna eliminate all of this, because not all of it is one lawyer. We've talked about in the past, do we contact, that law firm that's doing it and come up with a contract for an amount? But my initial conversation with them basically was, okay, well, let's figure out what you're paying us now, and we'll just stick with that amount. So they would automatically get the full amount, and if they did less work, they would still get the full amount. So to me, I didn't think it was beneficial to do a contract, but you just never know.
I would say just put down 150 and be done. I mean, I'm tired of looking at it every month, to be very honest. If we don't spend it, we don't spend it. I mean, it's not gonna go away. I just think it looks bad on our part, having to do that every month, like, I mean, it's out of our hands.
Well, this year it started so early because we budgeted it at $75 an hour, and then the state of Illinois
Yeah.
doubled it and said the minimum you could pay is 150, which we did not know that when we set the budget.
Yeah.
So that's why it's out of our hands.
And we don't get any money back on that safety net.
No.
No, we don't get any of that money back.
Stay alone.
At the last board meeting, can't you know this, but Commissioner Gould had asked for an accountability of the invoices and like trying to get it under control and stuff. I said it then too, I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to get it under control because I have no control over it.
It's not in our control.
Was he asking
He's
basically?
wanting
make sure-
to know
make
why.
we're not
He
milk-
wants
not
somebody-
getting milked?
I think, from talking to him later, I think he's wanting to know why. Like, why do we keep having these bills? I mean, well, obviously, we're gonna have them, but is it a problem with the court that the lawyers have to come back 2, 3, 4 times before a case gets settled? Is there something we can
Call it
do?
what it is. He's wanting to blame the state's attorney, and that's not the case. Has nothing to do with that.
These are the third party, like, for public defender side of it.
A lot of that too, Brandon, there's a lot of conflict of interest going on, and that's how you get that outside help.
I'd say there's no clear path out of it. but
No, there's not.
I mean, court efficiency would be better, but I don't know how to get court efficiency. I don't know how to do that.
You can't control that,
I can't.
you know. The state's attorney can't control that. I mean, this is not a individual's fault that this is happening. It's just, I mean, I understand what he's wanting to know, but that's not the case. It's nothing that the county is doing insufficiently to cause this. That's what I'm trying to say. At least I don't see it that way. But
So leave it at 150? That's what I have
At
in
least.
there.
150.
It's not gonna go down.
If we go over it, then we'll start doing it again.
Okay. That's what I have. That was easy enough.
I mean, you can't help them teed off about it, but it's just, I mean, it's the courts,
Well, it's state mandated, things that they have to do now.
the state doing what they've done here over the past years, kind of,
Well, they may raise it to 250.
Yeah.
For this year. though.
Yeah.
I mean, if they do, then we'll have to pay it.
On state mandates, otherwise.
I was looking back through to see if I had anything else that I had notes on, but I don't see anything here or something. Sorry.
You don't want anything?
I'm happy. Very happy.
See you later.
She's not the only, well, actually, that's what she was just asking me. It was about the Christmas dinner when I said it's already in there. We approved it last year. It's very little money. I just kept it in the budget because where we pay for Christmas dinner for everybody to have catered in, it's $2,000. We had no requests from HR. We have no requests from circuit clerk, coroner, or treasurer. So that's it.
Good deal. I make a motion to adjourn. I ain't got nothing else, I'll second that.
Commissioner Pitts?
Yes.
Commissioner Miller?
Yes.
Commissioner Beersville?
Yes.